Okay, so we're recording. It's the first building query call of 2020. Um, what's today? January 6th. So it's been a couple weeks since we last did this, and I'll let B5 take over. But just to sort of set the scene where we left this off, the last time we did a building query call, we were previewing 030. So 030 had not even been cut yet, just for a little bit of background. So it's been about a month since we did one of these calls. So I'm glad to have us back.
Nice. Damn, that's serious. We are, well, I mean, from 030, we are now moving on to working on 040 and trying to understand how we can sort of like get to the next frontier. Rico, do you mind muting?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Cool. I mean, you can unmute if you want to say something, just train noise. But yeah, cool. So today, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to just take some time to like have a bit of a discussion around search, because I've been like working on the mockups for 040 and how we think it should work, but I think we should take some time to just explore the mockups and explore what we expect out of search. The more and more I think about the fact that we're in 040, we're kind of like starting into this journey of bringing the browse experience into Qri Desktop. I think it's really important that we understand how search is going to be a part of that and how that may or may not play against a feed. And so like just getting all those things lined up. So I'm going to share my screen. While I'm talking, I'm hoping that you guys will interrupt me with thoughts and questions because I don't have a ton planned here. I was thinking more would be a discussion. All good? Okay, cool. Let's just do desktop. Okay. Let's get the right sketch file up. Can everyone see a sketch desktop thingy with a bunch of like mockup utilities, icons, and navigation? Cool.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to start here, which it's actually hard to, this is becoming so complicated that it's hard to get this on the one screen. Basically what this is a diagram of flows through the app. So basically tracking how someone progresses, both in terms of clicks and, but mainly in terms of screens from a starting point through to different activities that you can do or actions you can take within the app. So anything you see here in sort of this, following this legend, anything that you see as in green is a screen. That's an actual like place, an area, or a region. Anything in this sort of like lighter, I'm going to fix this mock-up, these colors up a little bit. This sort of like lighter purple or darker purple, I don't know what that is, more violet color. God, that needs to be changed. Is a modal, so that would be something that will pop up and will be temporary. So it's basically a screen over a screen. And then anything in this purple pill color is an action, which is something that you can do that when you do that thing, it will either take you somewhere else or there'll be some result. Almost the only actions we really care about when we're looking at these kind of workflows are results that lead us somewhere else. Because this is mainly what we're doing is mapping the way that the app flows. And so you read this diagram by starting from the left. So you read, first thing we see is an app loading screen. And then we get the welcome, and then a sign up and sign in, which are linked. And so from sign up, you can get to sign in. From sign in, you get to this massive thing, which is this first set of screens are all sort of at the same level of granularity within the app. And these are all of the sections that are on the sidebar. And so if you look here, like we have these 4 icons that represent our dataset workbench, our collection view, our compare view, which is forthcoming, and then our network tab. And then if we go back to this workflows, we have sort of the workbench, collection, compare, and network. We also have user details, which is this, which mops out the fact that you can click here. And if you click your own user profile, you're going to get a popover that'll sort of say, hey, these are the things that I can do. As an example of that, you can edit your user profile, which will take you somewhere. The only thing you can do from the user details, however, is, so this is a modal. From this modal is edit your profile, sign out, and see your cloud profile, as we've been talking about before. But to me, the big question that we sort of like, I'd like to sort of tackle today is this question of search. And so like, we obviously have worth noting, we also can just link you to our chat Discord from the sidebar that's always there. But I sort of mocked in here that we should almost always have search as a thing that you can do at any given point inside of the app. And so like, the couple questions that immediately jump out are like, if that's the case, then there needs to be somewhere on any of these given screens. So I'm currently looking at a dataset body screen that I can, from here, I need to always be able to get to a search. And that search should, if that's the case, where does that go, right? And then the other question that sort of jumps out is, how does search actually behave, and like what do we think should happen when I sort of click to when I do a search? Should it be right now the way we have a search index built for the registry, but we haven't really considered this notion of local search and whether that should be a thing as well. I think it should, but the question is like, how do we do that? So those are the big questions to sort of like tee off thoughts that I'd had in terms of things we could do with search. The first, these are going to be pretty sort of like haphazard, but if I just kind of like, I think option A, I guess, is to just do this and basically have search here. And then option B, I've already seen cases saying like, no, I don't like that, which is totally acceptable. Option B is, do we have, so where's components? No, it's form search. No, where is this? Components. Oh, come on. Sorry, 1 second. I don't know my own design system. This is no good. Wait for page to load. Nav search, dang. Okay, and then now Sketch is just going to be really upset with me for a little while. Okay, it's that status. Option 2 is to insert a search kind of like up here. That would be a persistent, always present. This matches really closely to a lot of popular apps these days, right? Actually, and then there's like option 3, which is to basically take this and move it over here and have, instead of having an input field always present, have an icon that when you click it, does a popover that says basically the same way that I don't know if you can actually see this, but like your Spotlight search, the same way that works, where I can just type search in here. And it's just always, it's ever present. So I can just use this button to toggle that thing. So I'll stop there, but thoughts? I think I'll leave screen share up so I can sort of like mock up as you guys go. But there's lots of screens to consider here, but those are the areas that we've sort of reserved space for. Also entertain any alternative.
I think my earliest vote would be for something that like anchored in the upper right with the box there for me, so I don't have to click this tiny icon to be able to punch right into my field. That's my first thought. My second thought was, I think like GitHub, we should consider allowing someone's search results to be just within either the body or the whole data set or globally, like from the drop down. So I got a search term and I want to look for, I mean, this is kind of like what filter does, or I think filter does below it, meaning show me all the things that have this in it. But if I'm looking for a particular value, I might want to like a control F feature, or if this is going to be a global, like, you know, my YouTube or Google search.
Totally.
I definitely don't think we need like 6 different bars for different behaviors.
That's really interesting. And I love that we have filter like right here. And so we can sort of talk through that as we're talking. I'm just sort of mocking up what you're talking about. Where we go. Others agree, disagree, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it needs to be clear that we're searching. I mean, it's what are you searching for? If you're searching for the contents of data sets versus searching for data sets by their top level meta information, you know, like how deeply does the search string match go? Is it just looking at title and description and data set name, or is it like, you know, are you actually peering into the contents of data sets? I feel like the latter should be some kind of advanced search with a much more, you know, much more convoluted user interface, involving different things, you know, things you can toggle on and off and bells and whistles. But I feel like that doesn't, that's not the same thing as like I just want to start typing and get autocomplete results and click one from the list. And yeah, am I searching my own data sets, or am I searching everything in the whole world? Yeah, it needs to be, I don't know if like the context of that search box just changes based on whatever tab you're on, or if it should just be the same way every place in the whole app. I tend to think that like the right side of our app has become, you know, pretty context specific.
Yeah, like everything outside of the sidebar.
Yeah, but even then, like, well, I don't know. You're now showing this above the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine it sort of alongside the buttons, although there may not be enough room for that. But yeah, it's like those buttons all change depending on which
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
that.
Part of the reason I only presented this here was I've sort of, I imagine, well, we will actually build a mock-up of this, but like this region here is like global navigation. And then this region here is page-specific navigation. So if we make this, so like everything up here should basically be able to, as we sort of talked about a little bit, like you can basically do, I'm on a data set body. This is the data set body that I'm on. And then anything that is specific to that, anything that would apply to any data set body goes on the right, any of these actions. Or sorry, anything that would apply to this specific like section action. So like you should be able to do the show files and publish from any of the sort of commit, meta, structure, transform. But any of these actions that are here are specific to the component that you're looking at or page that you're on. And so it basically just is working from top to bottom in terms of granularity. Everything, if you were to click Ramfox, that would take you to the collection view of Ramfox's data sets. If you click gubernatorial voter turnout, that would just basically reset your view, probably to show you actually just this body. So in this case, it'd be a no op. But on any other component like your commit, it would change you to see the body. And this thing on the right would obviously, I think if we did it this way, as you said, this like there's a question of context here. And if we had to just dynamically switch it, that might make a lot of sense. Yeah.
So what are we switching between in this example? Like, okay, so if it's on data set, I'm looking for rows that contain the word foo. The other option, am I actually searching for data sets from this body view? Because that, you know, like,
yeah, does that feel like, yeah, so like what are our granularities here? I guess we should first map before we ask that question and see how they sort of interplay. I'm gonna,
it could also be searching through previous versions of this data set.
Yeah,
but
that's a thing.
Too much for, you know, first pass.
Full text search of all versions. That sounds expensive, particularly if it was like a mini gig thing. So I'm gonna make this a symbol before I do anything else. Give me 1 second. Create symbol. Components. Nav. Search. Context. Bigger. Cool. And then I'm gonna make. This is also turning into a dynamic demo of Sketch. I'm going to rename this to its generic phrase, context, and I'm going to return to an instance. This is not going to say context, but then I'm going to turn this into an override, and it's going to say data set. Cool. And then I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to do this. This is going to be data set, all history. And then we're going to go back and edit this master and say that I'm not going to futz with this. Actually, I'll just do this. I'm going to make this layout better later, but for now, the only thing I'm going to do is go in here and say, pin this to the right and fix its size. So now when it flexes, it'll stay over there. Then you pin to the left. Awesome. So what do we have? We'd have all history, we'd have data set, and then we'd have, what would this be? Search query, like the whole network. And then we could also have local. Are there any other contexts I'm missing? And then we can come back, Chris, to the question of like, what does it even mean to be searching this here?
Maybe like within the component itself. Like if I'm in the body and I just want to search the body for a specific number, and that also happens to exist in the meta. So that's just like a control F kind of thing.
Yeah. 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 And I wonder if the defaults, go ahead, Case.
I don't know if I would think that, I'm trying to think like, I don't know if I would think that searching up there would give me pieces in the body. Maybe I would. Maybe I just assume that Query can do all that for me, and I am having biases based on my idea of what Query is. I'm trying to think and translate that to software that I use and when there's a search bar and what I expect it to return.
Yeah,
Like,
I think this is.
I don't know if I go on GitHub and look at the search bar and think that it's going to show me lines of code in the repository.
Yeah. And in a lot of this, Rico has been using Control F as a metaphor.
But maybe we need Control F, but maybe it doesn't.
But is that not? And are we not having a discussion about
exactly? Yeah, maybe it's
Maybe that's what filtering is. But then then you end up in a really weird question of like,
why do we have two fucking search bars?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And well, I mean, and I think this is a common problem. But then we also have this question of like, okay, are we going to have this? I think the question today is like, are we going to have this everywhere? And if it's going to be everywhere, it has to do something consistent, right?
Exactly.
So Chris, to your point, filling this in and like only getting global results, like I think the expectation of a top right-hand search bar is upon choosing an option, I will be navigated somewhere else. Versus filtering, which is I'm trying to reduce what I'm seeing in a given context. Then I think that asks like a weird question of like, should we then be thinking about having a filter on the, like, for example, the meta component, right? Like, should I be able to filter down my metadata? Because like metadata can get really long. Should I be able to filter my columns in structure? Or should I have a thing here that filters these? Seems like a little idiosyncratic for like a V1 type thing, but it's a possibility we should probably consider.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking back to the search question on what I would expect to see in search. Because I agree, I think the idea of like a filter that smartly for each page does the filtering an intelligent way. Like if you're on Meta and you write down, I don't know, hotel, and there's tags that say hotel and there's a theme that says hotel and it's in the description, that it would do some intelligent thing where it folds up everything else and shows you those things. But in terms of search, I think I would expect, I think I would expect meta fields. Like I'm trying to, when you search in, maybe it depends on the context. Oh. Yeah,
it's tough. I think it's a very complicated thing. And so like, if we, let's back up for a second and ask that's a hard question. So let's ask an easier one. If this could only do one thing, right, this search bar, what would it do?
Data set names and show you yours on the network, people you follow.
Yeah, like to me, what I think, I exactly agree. But I think we can sort of like take it one step further of like, in terms of specificity, I think it should basically be Query Cloud. Query Cloud search so if I search for bank, I get World Bank population. If I search for, let's see if I have something like, see if this is actually, let's give Elasticsearch a run for its money. Oh shit, that's awesome. So I search for a term that is only inside of the meta description, which is part of the search index. And so basically it's just like, it's not full text search, but it's basically search of just the meta and the name, which is what I think it's built up on. If we had this just contextualized to my local view of the world. So if I did a search for something, and if I'm just like, I think if we think about the experience of using query and interacting with the data bazaar, I think search is going to like really start to come forward. And I think we want to start leading people towards, once we have like a running network of data sets, or our network of data sets grows big enough that it becomes really meaningful. I think the flow is, the first thing you should really do is search to see if something already exists before you go making it. And so if all search includes global results by default, I think that makes a lot of sense. And then stuff that you have locally should be delineated in some way as like a starting point. Do we agree?
I don't think it's out of the question to have. I mean, we already have separate pane for the network and separate. Are we calling these panes? Sorry, I don't know what we're calling them.
Yeah, panes done.
Okay, so we have a separate pane for the network and we have a separate pane for the collection. I think we've already talked about like collection view as a list getting complex, and we may be able to add groups at some point.
Totally.
I'm imagining the flow where I want to quickly change to another data set. I have to go to the collection view and either browse the list and click on it. Nice to just start typing it, in that search box and just hit enter, and then now I'm switched to that data set. Likewise, what I'm saying is I don't think it's awful to, use a keyboard. I'm thinking of using a keyboard shortcut to switch to a different pane, and then immediately, which means I'm going to go to the world view or global view, immediately start searching and see a list of things that match from outside of my local ecosystem. Switch to collection and know that the search results I'm going to get there are only within what would be in that list anyway that I could grab. And it's just kind of a shortcut for getting to that thing in what could be a very long list.
Totally. So you're using it as like Spotlight, where it's like I'm shorthand. I'm just thinking about my World Bank data set. So I just type like basically some shortcut to conjure search, hit down twice, hit enter. That takes me to that specific data set that I know that I have.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think likewise, like if it's autocomplete and we get a little drop down like you're showing here on the screen right now, we can have the options for, you can either preview this on cloud if you don't want to like wait for it to try and load any data into your machine, or you can, immediately from there you can actually like add it, and I guess that would be, it'll take you back over to the data set view for that data set, and you can kind of be waiting while it is loading up various parts. Anyway.
Totally.
I just think that's a placeholder difference, or like the thing that's inside the search box that says, when you're in data set view, it's going to say, or when you're in your local collection, it's going to say search your local collection. And when you're on the network view, it's going to say search the query network.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So I see. So it's changing the default based on your current pane.
Exactly. But I'm saying I'm advocating for like, don't let people switch. You shouldn't have another way of switching context. We already have a pretty good way of switching context between those.
Interesting.
That's my play.
That's interesting. I kind of like the idea of being able to do any from either.
I agree, but the idea of having smart defaults resonates pretty hard.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. That's right.
If it's a little drop down, if it's a little arrow thingy like you just showed before, and it's I can switch quickly if I don't feel like tabbing over to the other pane. I see that being, I'd be all right. I'd be all right with that.
you can get down with this network, and then local, and then in this case, I like local would be highlighted by default in here, and then network would be highlighted in the other one. And I can click these, and it would just change these results. Actually, no. What if we did this instead? What if we just made this local only? Do I even? Oh, this will be fun. Well, fun for me, not for anyone else. Checkbox. Oh, there's no label yet. Dang. Okay. Fine. Local only. Label. Oh, this is so slow when I'm trying to like stream. go, please. But you get the idea. There'd be like a checkbox here of like, hey, do I only want local results? And that's checked off unless I'm on the network tab. So like if I'm here and I search, I'm just always only searching locally. And then instead of having a picker between the two, we have some sort of way of indicating if a data set is mine local. Like when I have a local only unchecked, there's like a hard drive icon or something that shows that it's a data set that I have, or some delineation. Maybe it's a color thing.
Are the way that GitHub does it, where you type and then the drop down gives you the option of search local, search, or like search this repository, search all of GitHub is what they use, but having a drop down and then like having the search results, we had looked at that a while ago, and I was wondering if your opinions about the way they do that has changed, or if we're what we think of like the way they do it.
Which part specifically?
When you go on GitHub and their top search bar, you type in something, it will ask, search in this repository or search all of GitHub. They don't have the search results in the dropdown, which is different. But
and it's interesting that it shows my recent searches here.
Yeah,
it's just like really quick jump to like. I've looked at Go IPFS recently. There you go.
Oh, I guess they do have some. Mine, for whatever reason, wasn't showing search results in the thing, but they do have search results in.
This is hilarious. It's like my shout outs to all of you. I love all these projects. Yeah, and it's interesting that this like this association with history is really interesting. But as you said, if I want to say search for Go JSON schema in this repository, all of GitHub, I'm now on a repository, so I can see both of these contexts. And so this is, to your point, Chris, this is context aware, and the default I'm seeing is here, but the global default is one key press away. I'm just using the up and down arrows to manipulate this.
The difference is that both of these things you're highlighting between right now aren't going to take you to a data set. They're going to take you to a separate page that lists results.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't want
that.
Yeah. I feel like that's not what we're doing here. We're trying to pick a. I mean, so we can also simplify it by saying this search bar only ever changes switches you to a different data set.
This is really smart though, but because like see how this is using jump to talk about that, and then I should sort of pull this full circle in our workflows. I sort of have this search results as a page that I thought that we should be taking to, in particular because we need advanced search, right? We need to be able to say, all the things that we've talked about. I haven't mocked up an advanced search page yet, but it's worth a look. Coming back here, like this like jump to versus, monkeys. I can only, because I'm not talking about a thing that I've identified, like we definitely know this is a thing. So I can just jump to it, right? So I've effectively, this is more than a search bar. This is like really overloading search with some like special sauce. I don't think we have the capacity to do this quite yet, but this is quite pretty. And it's interesting to like even have this call out, like just hit the slash key. Awesome.
We're not going to have any. We don't have any looking at a data set locally that you haven't actually added to your local repo yet, right? Like, so what I'm saying is, if data set I could do like a advanced global search, and it can show up on the list as like B5 has these two data sets that match your search string, but I can't. All I get is like the top, the highlights of them before I have to actually add them in order to actually, experience the data set on the data set pane, right?
Yeah, I mean, we really need to talk through this because there's like how does that work in the very near future, and then how does that work long term? Because like I think the long term answer is no. The browse experience is fully integrated into Qri Desktop, and the components that we're using on Query Cloud to drive the Query Cloud stuff are exactly the same as what we're using to drive the desktop experience. And so it's just basically saying, why leave the app? Why take you to a browser when you can just stay here and like browse data sets locally, which we can do. But there's also, as you said, like there's this like, I don't know if we agree that that's the long-term thing. I think it should be. But in the short term, I think there's like sort of a world where so like this actually would be a user Banksy, because like he has Banks in his name, or she or they, we don't know the identity of Banksy. But if I had like a data set that I didn't possess, that was like Chris Wong, NYC bank locations. Chris, I'm typecasting you pretty hard here. But, if I clicked that, do I get just like a modal preview, as you said, and then I get like an add button, and maybe that modal preview is like pretty, like, sort of like, I don't know, can't do this on the fly, but actually, why not? Let's do components, or like, let's do another one. It's really big, and it would like gray out the screen type thing, and it would be, you know, data sets. And then we would do a whole preview here, and then the only thing you could do is insert document form, large submit button, add, or no, we're not calling it add anymore, right? We're calling it, what are we calling this?
Clone.
Is it clone? Yeah, it's clone. Clone. And that's the only thing you can do. And then you would get like a description here. And then a title here. And that would be it. Pulled straight from metadata. I don't know. To me, that's like a short-term solution for a browse experience. And then maybe we have a sort of a view on cloud button. Actually, what if we did that as like an action? Sorry, 1 second.
I mean, when I see you draw this, I just say, then I'm like, why don't we just show it in the data set pane and just add a little like, you know, this is not local, or this is a preview only little box.
Yeah, I think there's a preview question. I mean, to me, the data set pane, the scary thing there is like, this is all going to be the result of a network JSON call to Query Cloud. And so like for now, this is like in the short term, this is centralized. And we don't really know how this would work, but we do know like we have this sort of API that backs registry, right? The Query Cloud. And so I think this is much easier to build versus like the preview we'd have to gray a lot of things out and say like, hey, you can't see this, you can't see that. But if you have just like a clone by view on cloud, I don't know. This feels like a short-term solution, but I don't know.
I mean, I was also going to say, like, we can, you know, there's no, like, the search results pane can be full height. You know, you can, like, expand each one of these things, expand one at a time, maybe, and be able to see more without having to do a whole separate model.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But, like, you know, I don't know if it's feasible to show a data table preview in there, but we can definitely show you, like, you know, we could be showing you the first line of let you hover over it and see a little bit more or something like that, just to sort of inform your clone decision. And then just
inform your clone decision. I fucking love that.
Yeah, it's like if you want to like, you really want to look in the data table, like, yeah, you got to clone the thing. But we can give you a little more, you know, a little more info in this search, you know, before you. Maybe.
Deeply agree. Yeah.
I mean, like each one of these that you're listing, it should look just like the list in your collection view, which also says like, by the way, this is like 12 megabytes and it's got 17 versions and it was
100%.
last updated 3 months ago, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, completely agreed. Yeah, so we should have a search results thing. I think we do need to do search. Well, we don't need to do search results as a modal, but like there's a question of like what happens to the sidebar when we're looking at search results. Maybe it's just collection view. Actually, yeah, that feels more right. I don't know. So I don't want to add an icon here. Like We got a big frowny face from Casey when I drew an icon there. So we didn't never do that. Let's go look at our collection.
We did that already.
We did, didn't we?
And
when did we do that?
It was just like one of the versions of front end had search as a whole separate thing, and
nightmare.
It never got any love, and that might be because search was never in a place where
it could.
But like, how often do you open an app now and there's a separate section for searching?
I
haven't heard that in forever.
Oh my God. Are you okay boomering me?
Yes, old man. You have a child now. You don't understand how young people work anymore.
Oh no.
Contractually obligated. You have to not recognize change or anything.
Okay.
Anyway.
That's enough. That's enough from the peanut gallery. Dismissed.
Anyway, that's why I made that face.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. That's great. That's really good. And so I think there would be no stuff here. And point taken, we're going to not have a separate search results page.
But also, as you've been saying, like, the top bar is for navigation, and search is now the way people navigate through things.
Yeah, right.
It's like one of the main ways you navigate.
I think that's why it's so important to get this right. Is like, as Chris has really well pointed out here, I think that like search needs to be accessible, like under your hands at all times.
Yeah.
And it is very much it's a universal interface for navigating something that you don't fully understand yet, right? Like, I think that at any given point, somebody is when they see that icon, right, or that area to punch stuff into, you know what to do, you know what to expect, and we should just do everything we can to match that. But I think GitHub has been like a really interesting example to look at here, where they have done everything they can, knowing that you're going to click this, right, search or jump to, and they've really overloaded this with developer-friendly things that you're going to do a lot of. I think this is really smart. It's kind of like a nice way of saying, okay, we know this is going to be quite warm in terms of usage, and so let's make sure that it's overloaded with niceties. I think there's a real risk of getting this wrong, though. This feels like the product of a ton of research that I don't fully like. In the background, they're keeping track of the history of what I've looked at. This, like, they totally knows that these are all jump tos, and like this is it's pretty gorgeous. So for us, just a basic search results page, and then if we had like a stuff to like tune and refine your search here, results here. Basically, as you're saying, Chris, like things that inform my clone decision start coming into play. And it'd be interesting to have this. Wow, this thing is really chugging. It'd be really nice if like you can see a list of results, drill down into one of them, get an answer, and then back out to the search. And so that's, I think, where our forward and back buttons come into play again. Where I can hit search results here and then just hit back.
Sorry, are you saying I'm still, when I see this search results at the header, is that it's a totally different pane?
Yeah, So like now we're back in this, I should finish this thought. So we're now in collection view, I think. Instead of, so if you search for anything and hit enter, you would go to collection view here.
Oh, you're in collection view. Okay, I see.
Yeah, and so we'd move you over to collection view automatically and show you search results. I don't know what goes here, if anything. I think advanced search would go here instead of the actual results themselves. I think the results themselves are now the subject of this screen, so they kind of move over here. Those are obviously all over white, so for now we're just going to do this and pretend that this looks pretty. And then we could put all of our advanced search tools on the left here. Like, recently visited could end up here, or just like a lot of options for like include metadata only, local only.
Is it that I'm not following? This is inside collection view and not in its own new tab or new pane?
That was what Casey was saying, that I'm very old for thinking that there should be like a search icon here that is the new pane.
Well, if if we're getting a whole new search page, maybe there can be an icon, but like, aren't we going to have search on every? Isn't there going to be a search bar at the top? Did I miss that part of the conversation?
No, no, you did not. It is in fact everywhere.
I think what's so like I don't. So okay, so I'm going to be old also and agree with Brendan.
Okay.
We could have a you know, sort of page, but I also want the sort of quick response. You know, I shouldn't have to navigate elsewhere. Like, I want to be able to type stuff into that search bar, click on it, and it like takes me to that data set, and I don't have to do an advanced search. I think at the bottom of that list is, you know, if I click on, you know, try this term in advanced search, then it takes me to your advanced search UI, and it pre-populates the default fields, and I can continue like checking all the little checkboxes to narrow down my search.
Go nuts.
Interesting.
Its own whole separate user interface, which is aimed at like you type different things and hitting enter and then seeing what comes back, versus the type ahead experience, which is like I'm going to type the first 6 letters. It's going to tell me, you know, these 6 letters match these 5 data sets that are in your local collection, or these, you know, or wait a couple seconds longer, and then I can also tell you what matches on the query network.
Yeah, I think we can have archaic and new too. I think both of these things are completely compatible, right? Like
They are too, yeah, for sure.
it's just like when we're in here, if we omit our beautiful wireframe of a picker or of a preview. So I'm in here, I type bank, and I quickly get these. And if I type the word bank and I have recently visited B5/bank, a local data, like the first thing it should search is my local data sets and present to me like, cool. I hit down twice, and that either if I hit enter while I'm in this, it will just automatically execute a search that can then be expanded into an advanced search. Yep. So if I type Control F, type the word bank and hit enter, that will by default take me to this collection view pane with search results shown and a chance to refine. But as we said, there's an autocomplete component. So if while typing bank, I see query is going to proactively search for me, I can just press down and that'll automatically take me to those things.
I think that sounds the only thing I'm still it just feels out of place to go to the collection view, which should only include my local stuff, to do like advanced searching that might include the whole rest of the world. That's my only response to that, but I think we can definitely do both.
Yeah, the only reason I put it in the collection view is I'm just trying to avoid an extra icon here.
If there's an advanced search, if we're making a whole page for search anyway, then
yeah,
having the only way to navigate it be, then I understand the need for, like, you can have an icon and I won't make fun of you.
I like the idea of not having the icon.
Okay.
I think having it, because to me having it here is confusing. If I see a search sort of like magnifying glass here and I click that, is that going to like automatically, it messes with the flow because I'm sort of like trying to just like automatically open this thing, like and entering that from 2 doors feels weird. And I don't like the idea of like, I want to protect this. Every single thing in this list should be like a unique feature to us. Like that is like a special thing that we do. So I think to that end, the other thing that we can do is we can just have it, I just tried this on SoundCloud as an example. I typed in applesauce and apparently we have Tunnel of Love featuring Savage Gap. Scary. Oh my God, this is drug oriented. I need to not show this, sorry. Anyways, scrolling down. But here I have home, stream, and library, right? Like these are all, these are like arguably panes that if I click this, it becomes a depressed icon. Cool. But if I search apples, I'm now outside of that context entirely, right? Like I'm now looking at a page that is not navigable anywhere other than by clicking this and hitting enter. And so I think to that degree, we may even want to be allowed to sort of like just completely have this be outside of the normal sort of flow of things. We could even go so far as to like dismiss the sidebar and say these are search results here, and then provide you with like an X or a go back button type thing.
You can't get unless you go through the search.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically, hitting enter on search is a navigation action that takes you to search results.
Yeah.
Like you said, the only way you can get there is by hitting enter in the search bar. And the nice thing there is then we can sort of like do a complete state of exception UI where like this now we don't have a lot of the burdens that would normally like. Because to me, sticking advanced options here is a little bit dissociative. It's strange to me that like the search bar might end up over here, or do we like have to put all the search stuff on this side in the blue area? And what we really want is just like the classic familiar web page that sort of feels like this, right? Like that is like, just show me search results, give me a list, right? Don't mess with my brain, stupid developer people. Just like, let me see what your platform has to offer. And then give me like either an X in the corner to dismiss or some sort of go back button, which is what a browser uses, right? Just like back. Assume that that's a back arrow. I'll try to make it look like an arrow there. Yeah, I don't know. To me, this feels better than having it in collection. It doesn't really belong in collection because it's not part of your collection.
Well, I mean, okay. So then, all right. That all sounds wonderful, actually. Yeah, I could totally see it being like full screen with like you said, with a back arrow or an X, or almost consider it like a modal that covers the whole screen with an X.
Like some overlay, yeah.
Yeah, I really think that's the move.
I would say, I mean, when I'm now thinking about like collection view when I go in there and I have 150 data sets. Like, is there a filter? I mean, I can use search to like find the thing that I'm looking for quickly. But is there then also a filtering UI, or is collection view simply browsing and have to like?
I think we need to have some sort of filtering or filtering search type thing. Like we've always had this. We have that in the app right now, right? Like you can look at like, I think that's a table stakes. Like we must have that. So yeah. So let's make sure that stays. I think personally, we'll have to work it out, but could be part of search. But to me, like if we just started with the default of it is. It's just what it is right now, which is this is a filter on your list of local data sets. And then we can go build search and then decide if we should smash the two together when it comes to a collection view. But yeah, to me, we need this upper right-hand search thing that takes you to, as you go. I think everyone has wonderfully collided on the right thing of like this just being an overlay modal that is like either full screen or just like pretty close to full screen and just takes up almost everything.
Yeah, I mean, I should just be able to hit escape and make it go away also, right? Like it should be modal like.
Yeah, to me, that's basically what we're building is this, right? This, I don't know if you guys can see Spotlight Search when I bring it up, but like, yeah, but like being able to just do this in search query, like this is how I use OS X, right? Like I don't use the Finder. I search for Qri Desktop and hit enter. And I get really aggravated when my top results is one of these erroneous versions because it means that I end up launching the wrong thing. But like, that's the way I move. And so I think we should have this. Yeah. It sounds like we've arrived very much at this methodology.
The only thing sorry.
Go ahead.
I love fucking Spotlight Search on Mac. It's exactly the same as the way that I use and navigate my computer. I don't know if we're under the hypothesis that most people are going to be on Windows machines, how does Windows have something similar, and is it going, and I would want to use like basically the same thing, but the idea of it being the first time someone uses search that way is just in the like pop-up center thing. Otherwise I'd be like, we should just do search like that. It's so much better.
Yeah. So Windows has had this for longer than OS X has.
Okay.
We've had, they've always had the start menu. And so there's actually like the button on the keyboard.
Yes, the start. Oh, okay. So if you're equating those two things, I hear what you're saying.
Because I think that's, I think that's actually a thing that Apple was a bit slow on the uptake for. This is also, unsurprisingly, how Slack does it. With Slack, if you click the search icon on the top right, you get, and that's like one of their marquee features, is like full text search of your full chat history. And if you hit the Slack
Oh, they
thing, you
do.
get, yeah, you get almost the exact same sort of like Spotlight style overlay. So, lots of folks doing that trick.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you. This is wonderful. I feel like we have taken this hour to work through a very important feature. But yeah, so I'll finish mocking this up and add this. I'm going to save this file right now. Everything we've discussed is now part of our Dropbox of stuff, and we can start working search into our thinking for routes, for features, for how that works. There's a lot of questions for backend here, like, are we building a search? We used to have a search index locally, and then we realized that we were running 2 instances of the same database technology locally, and it was eating up a bunch of RAM. So we took it away. Should we put it back? What do we do? Dustin, when you're watching this recording, don't freak out. But yeah, we have lots of questions that stem from this, but I think the most important thing is to work out the desired UI, and then watch forward from there. Any closing thoughts? Nope. Okay. Well, thank you guys. This has been delightful. Another building query call in the books. All right.
Cool.
All right, underway.